Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. Alright guys, let's dive right into the big story coming out of Miami. And I know every Dolphins fan has been refreshing their feed every 5 minutes for updates. It's all about Tua Tagovailoa, his health, and what this means heading into Week 6 against the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, before anyone starts panicking or jumping to conclusions, let's set the record straight. Yes, Tua is dealing with a couple of injury issues. Yes, he was limited in practice this week. But no, the Dolphins are not, I repeat, not expecting him to sit out this Sunday. According to offensive coordinator Frank Smith, the vibe around the team is calm. There's confidence. There's optimism. And it looks like QB1 will indeed be under center when Miami takes the field. Smith spoke to the media on Thursday, and you could just tell by his tone that the team isn't losing sleep over Tua's status. The main thing he said, and Dolphins fans should probably tattoo this on their brains for the next few days, is that we're working through the process to Sunday, but we're not anticipating any setback for him for playing on Sunday. That's as clear as it gets, right? No hesitation, no mixed signals. He's basically saying, relax, we've got this. And yet, you can't help but feel that little twinge of worry, especially because we've seen this movie before. Now, the reason everyone's even talking about this is because Tua popped up on the injury report midweek, limited in practice on Wednesday with two separate issues, one involving his hip and the other involving the thumb on his throwing hand. That's never something you want to hear about your quarterback, especially when it's his throwing hand. But before you start imagining worst-case scenarios, Smith made it clear there's no major concern about either issue. He said these are just parts of playing quarterback, the kind of minor aches and bruises that come with the territory, especially after getting hit a few times on Sunday. And that's the thing. Tua did take some punishment in last week's game. He was sacked 3 times in the Dolphins' 27-24 loss to the Carolina Panthers. And even though there wasn't an obvious moment where he looked shaken up, those hits add up. The hip, the thumb, the general soreness, it's all part of the grind. Smith even admitted he wasn't sure whether this current hip issue is connected to the same one that ended Tua's 2024 season early, but he doubled down on saying there's no major concern. Still, that's the kind of comment that makes you raise an eyebrow. Because when it comes to Tua and hip injuries, there's always that lingering anxiety in the back of everyone's mind. Remember, that right hip was the same one that derailed his season last year. It was the same hip that sparked months of rehab, speculation, and debate about whether his body could handle the demands of being an NFL quarterback week in and week out. And to be fair, since his return, he's been nothing short of electric at times. The accuracy, the poise, the chemistry with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. But as good as he's been, there's always this delicate balance with Tua between brilliance and fragility. You can feel the coaching staff tiptoeing that line every week, managing reps, keeping an eye on his mechanics, and making sure he's protected. Smith even got asked about how the thumb injury happened, and his answer was kind of telling. He said he couldn't remember exactly how it occurred, but that it's just one of those things a quarterback deals with during the week. Now, that might sound casual, but that's also the kind of answer that tells you this isn't a huge red flag internally. If this were serious, Smith would have been way more buttoned up, probably dodging the question altogether. Instead, he's basically shrugging it off. And, honestly, if you watch Tua's media availability after practice Wednesday, he looked relaxed. He did his normal weekly session, which he likely wouldn't have done if there were any real concerns about his ability to play or throw the ball comfortably. And that's another big piece of this. There's been zero indication that his ability to throw is compromised. Smith even said flat out that they're not worried about it. That's crucial because, let's be real, a quarterback's thumb on his throwing hand is sacred territory. You mess that up, and the entire offensive rhythm collapses. But all signs point to this being a non-issue. Maybe a little soreness, maybe some swelling, but not the kind of thing that's going to stop Tua from slinging it come Sunday. Still, this situation highlights just how physically demanding Tua's role is in this Dolphins offense. He's asked to make quick reads, deliver the ball with precision, and stay cool under pressure while guys twice his size are trying to take his head off. Miami's offensive line has been better this year, but protection is still inconsistent. When Tua's forced to move, to extend plays, that's when the risk of these little injuries creeps up. And given his injury history, Every hit feels like it carries more weight. You can also sense that the Dolphins are trying to strike a balance between letting Tua play his game and protecting their long-term investment. Because make no mistake, if Miami's going to make a deep playoff run, they need him healthy. There's no plan B that comes close. He's the heart of this offense, the rhythm setter, the guy who makes everything click. Without him, that explosiveness, that timing with the receivers, all of it takes a massive hit. So even if these current injuries aren't serious, the Dolphins have to be extremely careful about managing him throughout the season. And it's not just about pain tolerance. With the hip, there's always a question of mobility, how well he can rotate through his throws, how comfortable he is stepping into passes, and how that might affect his accuracy or decision-making. If he's feeling even a slight pinch, that could alter his mechanics just enough to impact performance. The same goes for the thumb. You grip the ball differently, the spiral changes, maybe you lose a bit of touch on the deep throws. These are small details, but at the NFL level, small details separate touchdowns from turnovers. The silver lining for Miami is that this isn't unfamiliar territory. The team's training and medical staff know Tua's body better than anyone at this point. They've been through this process multiple times, and you can tell the organization has built protocols around keeping him ready without overworking him. Limited practice time during the week is nothing new. It's part of a bigger strategy to keep him fresh for game day. And let's not overlook the psychological component here. Tua's been through so much: the hip surgery, the concussions, the questions about durability, the constant noise about whether he's the right guy for this franchise. But every time, he's answered with resilience. He's come back sharper, more focused, more determined to prove he belongs. This week feels like another chapter in that ongoing story, another reminder that he's tough as nails, even if his body doesn't always cooperate. What's fascinating about this whole thing is how it contrasts with the energy around the rest of the AFC right now. You've got teams scrambling to find stability at quarterback, while Miami, for all its bumps and bruises, has its guy. The only challenge is keeping him upright. And facing the Chargers this week, that challenge gets even bigger. That defensive front, led by Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, is relentless. They're going to test Tua's pocket awareness, his quick release, and that offensive line's ability to keep him clean. You can bet the Dolphins are emphasizing protection schemes and quick passes all week. The last thing they need is another hard hit that could turn a minor injury into something worse. But if Tua does what he's done all season, make smart reads, get the ball out fast, trust his playmakers, there's every reason to believe he'll be fine. The Dolphins' offense has too much talent, too much rhythm, and too much firepower to slow down just because their quarterback is nursing a sore hip and thumb. As long as he's out there, this team is dangerous. And based on everything Frank Smith said, it sounds like that's exactly what's going to happen. So yeah, Dolphins fans, take a breath. Your quarterback's banged up, sure, but he's playing. And knowing Tua, he's probably going to use this as motivation to show everyone, once again, that he can handle adversity and still deliver. Sunday's game against the Chargers is going to be a big one, not just because of the standings, but because it's another chance for Tua to remind the league who he is: a fighter, a leader, and the heartbeat of one of the NFL's most exciting offenses. Whatever's going on with his hip or his thumb, don't expect it to stop him. Not this week. Not when the lights are on and the Dolphins need him most. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? Hold on to your helmets, NFL fans, because things are heating up in Miami, and the Dolphins just made a move that could seriously shake up the AFC East. It's been officially announced, yes, official, that the Miami Dolphins have secured offensive tackle Larry BOROM, and let me tell you, this isn't just another signing. This is a statement. The Dolphins are signaling, in no uncertain terms, that protecting their franchise quarterback Tua Tagovailoa is not just a priority, it's an obsession. Rumors have been swirling for weeks, whispers in the locker room, murmurs in the league office, but now it's out in the open. BOROM is a Dolphin. And fans are losing their minds. But let's unpack what this really means. Now, BOROM isn't just some name off the street. He's been a highly regarded tackle coming out of college, known for his strength, his technique, and his ability to handle elite pass rushers. And if there's one thing Miami learned the hard way last season, it's that Tua cannot survive without a reliable wall of protection in front of him. The Dolphins were sacked too many times, pressured way too often, and let's face it, every time Tua faced heat, we all winced. So, bringing in BOROM isn't just a plug-and-play solution, it's a potential game-changer. The chatter in the locker room is that the Dolphins are building something special, and BOROM might just be the keystone of this offensive renaissance. Sources close to the team, unnamed, of course, because that's how these things work, hint that the Dolphins front office has been working quietly behind the scenes for months to land this deal. There were whispers about BOROM entertaining multiple offers, teams lining up, and scouts watching every snap he took like hawks. Miami, however, played their cards close to the vest, moving fast and decisively once the opportunity presented itself. The feeling around the league is that BOROM's signing could be the spark that turns the Dolphins from a team that's been almost there to a team that's genuinely scary. And let's be honest, any defense facing Tua with BOROM on the field has to rethink their approach. The timing couldn't be better either. With the offseason in full swing, coaches are sketching out lineups, imagining scenarios, and BOROM's presence changes everything. There's talk that the Dolphins' offensive line coach is over the moon, already plotting combinations and envisioning a line that could rival any in the NFL. And while we can't see inside the locker room, insiders are suggesting that Tua himself is ecstatic, knowing that finally, there's a dependable force to his blind side. This is the kind of signing that energizes a team, that makes the players believe, and that sends a message to the rest of the league. Miami isn't messing around. Of course, you know the rumor mills never stop, and already speculation is flying about BOROM's impact beyond just protecting Tua. Some are saying he could push the Dolphins' running game into another gear entirely. Picture it. Defense is focused on the edge rushers, only to find BOROM bulldozing lanes and creating gaps for explosive runs. And while Miami has always had talent, consistency has been the problem. Could BOROM be the missing piece? The insiders think so, though they caution that chemistry takes time, and BOROM's adjustment to the pro game will be under a microscope. But the optimism is palpable. Meanwhile, social media has erupted. Fans are debating, dissecting, and even theorizing about what this means for Miami's draft strategy. Some believe that locking down BOROM signals a shift in focus, a move away from drafting offensive linemen high, and a commitment to developing what they have around Tua. Others are speculating about potential domino effects. Free agents now considering Miami as a more stable and attractive destination. Other linemen eyeing opportunities to join a line that's suddenly looking formidable. The buzz is everywhere, from podcasts to YouTube channels. And let's be real, this is exactly the kind of drama the NFL offseason thrives on. And while we're on the topic of drama, let's talk about the league's reaction. Rivals in the AFC East are undoubtedly taking notes. New England, Buffalo, and the Jets have to be asking themselves, is Miami finally putting the pieces together? Because make no mistake, adding BOROM isn't just about protection, it's about sending a message. This team wants to compete, not just for wins, but for dominance. And the narrative that's forming is tantalizing. Could the Dolphins' offensive line become the story of the season? Could Tua finally have the time and space he needs to reach the elite tier we've all been predicting for years? Analysts are already spinning scenarios, and the excitement is tangible. There's also an undercurrent of speculation about BOROM's personality and locker room presence. Rumor has it that he's a consummate professional, someone who blends skill with leadership. That's important because, in Miami, culture matters. The Dolphins have been building more than just a team. They're building an identity, and BOROM could be integral to that identity. The whispers from within the league suggest that players respect him, that his work ethic is contagious, and that his arrival might just elevate everyone around him. Chemistry, after all, isn't built overnight, but when the right piece arrives at the right time, it can transform a locker room. As for fans, the reaction has been instantaneous. Social media timelines are flooded with mock-ups of BOROM in aqua and orange, gifs celebrating his hypothetical impact, and endless debates about how this changes Miami's playoff trajectory. The excitement is a mixture of hope and cautious optimism, the kind that grips a city desperate for postseason success. And while only time will tell if BOROM lives up to the hype, the narrative is already compelling. Miami is serious about winning, serious about protecting their quarterback, and serious about making noise in a division that's been dominated by Buffalo for too long. So here's the bottom line. The Dolphins have officially secured Larry BOROM, and in doing so, they've fortified the wall in front of Tua Tagovailoa. The rumors were true, the speculation was justified, and now the league has a new storyline to follow. Will this signing be the catalyst for a breakout season? Will BOROM anchor an offensive line that finally gives Tua the freedom to shine? Will Miami finally challenge Buffalo, New England, and the rest of the AFC East in a meaningful way? The buzz is just beginning. The theories are multiplying, and the Dolphins faithful have a renewed sense of hope. In an offseason filled with whispers and speculation, this move is as loud and clear as it gets. Miami is building, Miami is hungry, and Miami is not waiting for anyone. In conclusion, though there's really no conclusion yet because the story is just getting started, the signing of Larry BOROM is more than a transaction. It's a message, a spark, and potentially the cornerstone of something bigger. The Dolphins are reinforcing their commitment to Tua, sending a signal to the league, and giving their fans a reason to dream big. If the rumors continue, if the chemistry clicks, and if BOROM performs as expected, we could be witnessing the birth of a Miami offensive line that's as feared as it is respected. So strap in, Dolphins fans. The offseason just got a whole lot more interesting, and the chatter is only going to get louder. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.